Good evening and welcome to the Illinois Symphony Orchestra's Sunday at 6 Recital Series. I am Executive Director Trevor Orthman, and we are so glad to be broadcasting from the UIS Performing Arts Center Studio Theater. Tonight we feature our percussion ensemble with Andrew CIERNY, Jeremy BRUNK, Jason YODER, and Aaron Villarreal. These Sunday at 6 performances are made possible through the generosity of our series sponsors, Dr. and Mrs. Dick McDaniel, Dr. Patricia and Randall Rushing, and an anonymous donor. We also thank the UIS Performing Arts Center and their staff for presenting this evening's concert and conversation. We hope you will join us this Saturday, December 12th at 7 p.m. as we celebrate the holidays online with our Holiday Pops in the Heartland broadcast featuring string orchestra and percussion. It's going to be a great program as we partner with the Springfield Ballet and Youth Ballet companies in selections from the Nutcracker, some holiday jazz, sleigh ride, and other audience favorites. And just a reminder that our final Sunday at 6 recital of the year features principal violist Aaron Rafferty on December 20th. Please check our website at ilsymphony.org for more details on all of our upcoming events. We invite you to stay online for our Coda Conversations discussion immediately following the performance. Encourage questions from the audience through the chat feature. Again, thank you for joining us, and here is the ISO Percussion Ensemble.
Thank you, Trevor, and welcome to our Sundays at 6 concert featuring the Illinois Symphony Percussion Section. My name is Andrew CIERNY, and I'm joined by my colleagues who will be coming out for the second piece, Jeremy BRUNK, Jason YODER, and Aaron Villarreal. So we're going to be playing kind of a plethora of different pieces for you tonight, just kind of a catch-all performance based on some of the instruments you might see out here. And basically, we're going to bring you some holiday music as well to kind of make, complete the show with a little bit of holiday cheer. So the first piece I'm going to kick it off with is, it's actually from a collection of solos from which I played a solo over the summer. If anybody was able to see the Sundays at 6 back in June, I did a piece from that same collection called Looking Back. This solo is actually from that same collection. It's called Trance, and it's a festive piece, minimalist sort of feel, and it's going to start things off.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jason Yoder. I'm here to talk about our next piece, living room music. So, we needed something that we could play without access to our equipment, and so we're using things we found in our living room. In all actuality, John Cage wrote this piece for found instruments or instruments that could be found in any living room. He likes to believe that anything could be art, anything could be a musical instrument, and so we've all gathered objects that we found in our own living rooms, and we're here to play it for you. Another note is that in the second movement, we're actually speaking our parts, and all the words are from a poem by Gertrude Stein. And you'll hear us saying variations of one of the lines, which is, "Once upon a time, the world was round, and you could go on it around and around." And the final thing I'd like to note is there's only one part in the piece that's written for a melodic instrument. And to my far right, you'll see Jeremy playing on a beautiful vintage toy piano. Thank you, and I hope you enjoy it.
Once upon a time, oh, once upon a time, oh, once upon a time, a time, oh, once upon a time, once upon a time, once upon a time, oh, once upon a time, a time, once upon a time, upon a time, upon a time upon a time, upon a time upon a world, 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 world. Once upon a time, upon a time upon a time, a once upon a time. The world was round, and you and it, and you could go on it, you could go, and you could go on it, and you could go on it, you could go and you, and it, and you and it, you could go and you could go on it, and you and it, you could go on it, and you and it, you could go on it, and you could go it, around and around and around, around and around, around and around, around and around and around, around and around, around and around and around, around and around and around, around and around, around and around. Once upon a time, a once upon a time, once upon a time, upon a time, upon a time, upon a time, upon a
round,
world,
round,
world,
round,
world,
round,
world,
round, round,
world,
round, round,
world,
round,
upon a time,
round,
upon a time, upon a,
round,
upon a time,
round,
upon a time, upon a time, upon a world. Once upon a time, the world was round, and you
round,
and it, and you could go on it, you could go, 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 around and around and around, around and around, around and around and around, around and around,
round.
right, thank you. Thank you for staying with us. That was John Cage's Living Room Music. So thank you for staying with us during that piece. My name is Jeremy BRUNK. I've been a member of the Illinois Symphony Orchestra since the year 2000. And so I've been through a number of live concerts with many of you. And so again, I'd like to thank you for staying with us, not just for tonight's concert through the end. And be sure if you had any questions about this piece, Living Room Music, to put it down in the chat, right? Whether it's on Facebook or the Illinois Symphony Orchestra website. We're going to have the Q&A afterwards tonight, and we'd love to talk about this piece and everything else that we've been up to during this pandemic time. So before I play my solo marimba pieces, I also just wanted to thank you also for staying with us through this season, through this year where we have not been able to present our live concerts to you. Thank you for engaging with us online, and especially for supporting the orchestra. Your donations make our lives still possible, and for us to be able to bring you live concerts when we're able to resume. And I promise you that the Illinois Symphony Orchestra's best concerts are yet to come. So again, thank you for staying with us. The piece I'd like to play for you tonight are two selections from my solo preludes for marimba, and I've composed these two pieces as teaching pieces. I teach percussion and other music courses at Millikan University, and so these two preludes for solo marimba are meant as teaching pieces for my students to develop their musicality on the instrument. So the first one, Prelude number 2, is titled Dynamic Oscillations, and Prelude 3, played without pause, is called Static Inertia. Please enjoy.
Okay, so while we get set up here for the last sort of portion of the concert, we want to thank you again for tuning in. We really appreciate it. Just again, another reminder, we're going to have a Q&A after this. You're able to just stay on the live stream, and you can use the comment section, or you can go to the Illinois Symphony website as well to ask us any questions if you have anything, if you're curious about some of the stuff that we're doing up here. So what we're going to finish with is sort of a collection, some selections from some Christmas music. So we're going to take these and we kind of put our own little spin on it. And I hope you enjoy it. Think we're ready, everybody? Okay, thanks.
A wonderful job, great performance, and let's just start. Unfortunately, this setup won't allow Ken to join us this evening for the conversation, but he's here via chat, so he has questions that he has of you, and maybe we'll just start out by finding out sort of, you performed in June, and now what have you been up to for the last 5 months or so? Whoever would like to start.
Looking for gigs.
I had a bunch of different outdoor concerts that kind of sprang up. So different orchestras that I regularly play with started to have recording sessions, such as even when the weather got cold, we were doing like basically pre-recording the season. So with heat lamps, such as the extension of outdoor dining as long as possible, we were trying to extend the outdoor concert season. So I made a couple of holiday type recordings, and it was really interesting playing holiday music with music stand clips, which normally we'd be playing Stars and Stripes Forever and those kind of pieces with stand clips. So
Yeah, I mean, I can say that I've been teaching, right? I teach at Millikan University. We've been full-time, we've been in person. We've been doing our concerts much in this kind of a format as a live stream or sometimes recorded events. So Aaron and I direct percussion ensembles at Millikan, and we produced an hour-long Halloween concert, full video production that I did all the audio and video editing for. I had help from lots of friends in arts technology and the School of Music. But besides that, emptying a few of these. Right?
cheers.
Cheers.
So, on to that, I actually have a question about that. How did you select what you were going to use for living room music. Is there anything notated? I know that they said beforehand that there was the one, possibly the toy piano was the only instrument that it was actually notated in the score, and then how did everything else get chosen?
So it's the piano part is one of the clear notated things, which can be sung on the toy piano, synthesizer. The other parts are kind of vague with what they indicate, as you guys know, and of course the second movement has to be read with whatever your medium of choice is, newspaper, iPad as I did, computer, magazine, but everything else, I think we all just checked out a bunch of different versions of it on YouTube, which we nowadays have the luxury of doing. And then, for instance, the first movement, it made sense to use a higher pitched, slightly longer sounds. And then in the third movement, it made sense to do like clicky or shorter sounds to not interfere with the melody on the piano. That's kind of what I came up with.
Yeah, I have the directions here from the composer. He says any household objects or architectural elements may be used as instruments. So his recommendations are things like magazines, newspaper and cardboard, tables, wooden furniture, large books. For the fourth player, which is me, the floor, the wall, a door or a wooden door frame. I didn't have a door frame to bring with me, so I just brought other objects. And then the melody, he says, can be substituted by any suitable instrument, wind, string, keyboard, prepared or not. So this is my eight-year-old daughter's toy piano with the beautiful bear next to it. So I thought I'd bring that in as a suitable part for the melody.
Not the first time you've used that instrument.
No, it's made an appearance in Illinois Chamber Orchestra, I think, even before.
Yeah, for me, I just made the decision of, for the first and the last movement, which are more rhythmic, I wanted to use more short, higher pitch cutting sounds, which is why I chose to use chopsticks on a bowl or on this mug to kind of get the rhythm through. And then for the third movement, which is more of a longer, kind of like what Andy was saying, out of the way, that's where I'm using just my book in my fingers.
Yeah, and I was using pencils the whole time, so I was experimenting with using the metal part of the pencil versus the wooden part to try to get, that's not a good example, get a little bit of a different sound. My nice bottle here, it actually, I kind of was playing with the sweater to adjust dampening a little bit to see how it rings, so we get to have all kinds of fun here.
Okay, so Ken has a question for you, Jeremy.
Ken.
He wants to know when did you begin composing and what have you written so far?
Started composing when I was in college. I had never written any music before beginning my music degree. I did a concentration in composition for my undergraduate degree, continued composition through graduate school. Most of what I've written is for percussion, either this collection of marimba solos, of which there are 13, progressing from the beginner level up through very advanced solos. But most of my original compositions have been for percussion ensemble in a chamber setting, say between 4 and 12 players. Much of it premiered by the Millikan Percussion Ensemble. Some of them are published. And just by the way, Ken, I have no aspirations of composing anything for orchestra, just to be clear.
And then, the last time there were 3 of you, and this time we have Jason also joining us. And if you could just give me just a little bit, tell us a little bit about your background, and you auditioned and became a member of the orchestra this past season, and where did you come from, and what are your aspirations?
Okay, so I'm originally from Chicago, although my family lives in Pittsburgh now. I came back to Chicago for my postgraduate at DePaul University in percussion performance. That's when I started playing in the Civic Orchestra as well, and auditioned for this group, the Illinois Symphony. And so, yeah, my aspirations are to be a performer primarily, and maybe teach on the side.
So Ken has one. His nephew just started learning drums about a year ago, and is getting a lot of complaints from their neighbors. Is there any way to practice percussion without making a ton of noise?
Yes.
On pillows? Pillows work quite
Okay,
well, yeah.
so pillows and yes.
Well, on a drum set situation, if I'm assuming this student is playing a drum set, there are companies that offer quiet heads that are made of fabric. I think it's called Silent Stroke by Remo. Not sponsored, by the way, but Remo, if you're watching, give me a call. Also Zildjian, right? Give me a call. Zildjian makes what they call low volume cymbals,
Okay.
right? And so, of course, it's not as full of a sound. It's not as fun, right, for the nephew. It's probably not as fun to play on a kit and play as hard as you can without producing the kind of sound that you want. But there's two effects. Not only does it improve relations with the neighbors and maybe with the parents, but principally it's designed for hearing protection, right? Because if we play a drum set in a small practice room or in a bedroom with live walls and without any acoustic dampening and such, it can be well over 100 decibels of audio. And so if you're playing, yeah, exactly, right? If you're playing at high levels of decibels for long periods of time, you're going to have sustained hearing damage, right? So the low volume cymbals, the silent stroke heads, and hearing protection are all good ways to protect the health of any young percussionist.
Great, great. And we have a question from Toy C3. The person said, I totally enjoyed the vocal parts of the last piece. What other pieces have you played that have similar parts?
I guess that's a question for me. It's not every day you get a part in your music that says scream. So I play those parts wholeheartedly. And I have played pieces in the past where the whole orchestra was screaming at some point. I guess kind of in the spirit of John Cage, anything can be a musical instrument. So it's not the first time and probably won't be the last.
And then Ken actually says it was really cool to hear the spoken movement of living room music because it is actually the first time that he's heard it done with an authentic American accent, as he's always done it with English or Hong Kong accents. So he said that it was very nice to hear it with the American accent.
We could do it again, trying to imitate a Hong Kong accent. I don't know how successful we would be.
You might want to drink from your bottles first before
Empty,
trying
man.
it.
There's nothing.
Mine's empty, though. How did that happen?
And also, Jeremy and Aaron, how are you doing with you said that you were teaching in person this semester, and now you're probably at the end of the semester, yes. And is it continuing that you will be teaching in person next semester?
So our approach this semester was to do the things in person that needed to be done in person and be able to offer remote learning in any situation where it was suitable or more appropriate. So we had a condensed overall calendar where we met in person on campus with students up through the week before Thanksgiving. And then now that we're in the post-Thanksgiving period, we had 1 week of online-only instruction followed by 2 weeks of online final exams. So for our students, not to have any break before Thanksgiving, it meant everything was very condensed, very intense, right? And every teacher in all of their classes was trying to fit 15 weeks of material into 12, right? And so it was difficult, especially for the students to work through, faculty as well. But in terms of music, say our music theory classes, our music history classes, anything that could be delivered online, we tried to do. Individual lessons, there are some instruments that lend themselves toward in-person instruction like percussion, right? We do not produce aerosols while we play. So we can mitigate that by having distance between the student and the teacher, and in an ensemble setting by spreading instrumentalists out within the space and utilizing our large performance spaces as much as possible. The groups that had the most difficulty were anything that involved singing. And Millikan has a very strong and, intense choral tradition, right? Long history of choral performance. And so they had to make the greatest adjustments, one of which was to rehearse outdoors. So our choirs were rehearsing in one of the pavilions down in a park. And so we had to work with the Decatur Park District in order to make that happen.
Yeah, and I'll say we're actually very, very lucky at Millikan because we have our own separate percussion building.
So that kind of helps us stay away from everybody else, you know, and so we can pretty well control, you know, the flow of traffic. We are lucky enough that our facility is big enough where a lot of our students have their own practice rooms, that they sort of have their equipment in there, and so we just try to do everything to stay as safe as we can while still being in person. So.
And then your first piece, Andrew, as well as the living room music, has minimalist influences. Can you tell us a little bit more just about that style of writing for those that are listening?
So the piece is it's based around subtle variation. So I'm speaking about trance. So trance sort of has a couple of chords that it cycles between an arpeggiation, meaning that you're not playing all four chords, all four notes at once, but you're articulating them individually. And then essentially it would be just one or more of those notes are they're variated upon in different fashions, so not all the same way, but it just it's a jazz harmony type of arranging that the composer, David Friedman, I'm not sure if I mentioned that before I played the piece, but David Friedman's a jazz vibraphonist, and he took a lot of those jazz chords and, you know, put them together in kind of a, you know, not quite a free-form improvisational way, but just, you know, more of a contemporary type of format. And same thing with the cage. It also uses subtle variation between all four of us. For instance, it's most evident in the second movement where we have a line and then we start, you know, breaking those verbalizations into different rhythms. And, you know, instead of once upon a time, it becomes upon a time, upon a time, upon a. So it breaks it into different rhythms, and those repeats on and so forth. And
all right, thank you. And another question along the lines of young musicians, and somebody wants to know how each one of you got your start, and also whether you started in percussion or whether you started on another instrument and then moved to percussion at some time. So let's start with Aaron.
I'll start. So my mom actually teaches piano and violin and cello, so I grew up around that environment. And I took lessons for maybe about a half a year with her, and that's about as much as you can handle of your own son, probably, taking piano lessons. But so I played a little bit of piano, and then I started percussion in 5th grade, and eventually studied with Dr. Jeremy Brunk at Millikan through the preparatory department, as well as Brian Justison, who now is the director of the School of Music. So so I've been playing since 5th grade, basically.
Okay.
So I started on piano at around age 5. I always liked musical instruments. I played, you know, several here and there through middle school and high school. But I started percussion also in 5th grade, actually at the percussion scholarship program up at the Chicago Symphony Hall. And yeah, that's ended up dropping everything else a couple years after that and stuck with percussion.
I was about 4 and a half. I started banging on oatmeal boxes, and then eventually graduating to a toy drum set, and then a 3/4 size, playing along with 80s pop tunes on the radio, kind of just going through the drum set. And then I learned some keyboard on the side. My dad played guitar and bass, and he knew enough about piano to show me, you know, the notes on the keyboard and learn some basic things. So after that, I was all ready to go when 5th grade band started, and they said, well, you already been playing the drums, so let's give you a set of bells or a xylophone. And I started playing that, and then that was it.
Yeah, and it's the same story for me. I had very little piano as a child, and then joined the middle school band in 5th grade, just with the standard snare drum and bell kit, the old Ludwig Rocker 2. It's still a good sounding snare drum, and I still have it on my kit at home. And then just progressed through that from there. You know, we moved to Indiana when I was in middle school. I joined the drum line and started taking lessons when I was in high school, and just kind of kept music a part of my life all the way since.
Great. Well, on that note, I want to thank all of you for performing this evening, and wonderful program. And just as a note, next week's performance will actually feature Andrew as our percussionist for the concert for our Holiday Pops concert. And I hope everyone will join us for that broadcast on Saturday at 7 instead of Sunday at 6. So I thank you for joining us this evening, and we look forward to seeing you next week, and then for the final Sunday at 6 performance of this year on December 20th with our principal violist, Aaron Rafferty. Thank you and have a great evening.